Aloha, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our 2023 Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program Kickoff. We'll be giving an overview of the program. But let me start first by introducing myself. I'm Jamie Lum. I'm with the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. And we are the entity that administers the grant for the state of Hawaii. I'm joined by my colleague, Mark Ritchie. Mark and I both work with the Business Development and Support Division of DBED. And so we'll be giving information about various programs as well as introducing all of our partners as we go along throughout this presentation today. So thank you again. I want to thank Rob Hack with the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, who we work with to put together this kickoff, who's hosting today. So thank you, Rob, and you'll be hearing more about HPEC a little later. To let you know, the session is being recorded, and the recordings will be up on our website eventually, and our website is invest.hawaii.gov, as well as HPEC also uploads it to their YouTube channel, so this can be viewed later. The PowerPoint slides that you see today will be provided to you later after these sessions are done. So you can have all the information, the contact information and URLs, etc. Once you receive that. And then lastly, if you have any questions as we go along, if you could type them into the Q&A function on Zoom, and we'll answer questions at the end once we've gone through all of the information. So again, thank you. I just want to start by giving just a brief description of our division at DBED. We are the Business Development and Support Division, and we promote industry development and diversification in Hawaii. And so the programs that we support existing and emerging industries, increase exports of Hawaii goods and services, and expanding Hawaii's participation and Hawaii companies' participation in the global trade. And we assist in growing community-based businesses and organizations, and we also have programs to build resiliency to fluctuations in the defense industry spending. So that's just a little bit about us, and I'll ask Mark Ritchie as we go along to cover our next slide.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. Just want to let you know that this presentation is primarily about the Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, but we also are going to touch on other programs from DBED and then also our resource partners, because these programs directly feed into HiSTEP in terms of supporting businesses to grow and be successful. For instance, if you start an export development program, you're probably going to need to scale up your production. So we have information on sort of financing small business loans to do that and scaling up your operations, financing those operations. So we will be touching on those and introducing resource partners throughout this presentation. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mark. So we'll start with the HiSTEP, which is, as Mark said, our main focus for today. The Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, or HiSTEP as we call it, is funded by a grant that we received from the U.S. Small Business Administration. And so we are very thankful for that, for supporting the state and the Hawaii small businesses that are interested in expanding their sales through exports. And so we do have our Hawaii District Director of SBA here, Mark Spain, and I would like to introduce Mark and have you give us just a little introduction to the SBA.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. It's great to be with you today. I think the most important thing we want the audience to know about the SBA is we're rather diverse in what we call the 3 C's, and the slide you see pretty much captures everything, anything to do with counseling, not only the counseling that we can provide as SBA staff, but we're also augmented by 4 resource partners, the Small Business Development Centers, of course, under the interim leadership of Joe Burns, is throughout the neighbor islands as well as Oahu. And we also have the Veteran Business Outreach Center. We also, of course, have the Women's Business Center. And then there obviously is our long-term volunteer counseling team called SCORE. In the access to capital, we are really working mostly with our lenders. We have both non-bank lenders as well as credit unions, as well as, of course, traditional bank lenders, all of which are part of the SBA family. And our resource partners, if you wish to start or involve yourself with a startup or export focused, feel free to reach out to the resource partners directly as it suits your particular interests, whether it's veteran or women owned, or just generally a business that you want to have some advice. Then the capital step itself can be made much easier. Contracting, we're working both with state as well as local contracting, but our primary focus is on our federal program called the 8A program. And the 8A program is for socially or economically disadvantaged business owners. And it also includes, of course, the service-disabled veteran-owned small business, the women-owned small businesses. But particularly when we deal with federal contracting, the SBA 8A program is really designed, as long as you have the capacity and you have the ability to market effectively. We do application seminars for this particular program periodically. It will be a greater number of application seminars being offered starting in November of this year. And we look forward to providing that information to you upon inquiry. You may reach me at thornton.spain@sba.gov. Thornton is spelled THORNTON@SPAIN@SBA.gov. I go by my middle name, Mark, for obvious reasons. It's easier. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much, Mark. I will be sure to include that information, your contact information, when we send this out to the participants. So thank you. And we'll have some more specific listing later of some of the SBA loan programs, both those for the exporting and general small business loans.
Correct.
So
Glad to be sharing.
yeah, thank you. So we'll get into the, let's get into the details here of our Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program. It is an export development program, and we have devised 3 integrated components of this program. Our Export Readiness Program, which is a series of training, webinars, and seminars, and the business advising services of partner organizations and the resource partners that Mark Spain mentioned, their SBA resource partners and others. Then we have our HiSTEP Hawaii Pavilions. These are international trade shows, in some cases domestic trade shows that have international buyers, at which DBED organizes, and as well as the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, where we select trade shows and we organize a Hawaii Pavilion to participate in these trade shows. So that's the second component. And then lastly, we have our company assistance, which is direct financial assistance to small businesses to help support their export activities. So to be eligible for HiSTEP, you have to meet the federal definition, or the SBA's definition of an eligible small business concern, which is basically you meet the definition of a small business. You've been in business for no less than 1 year, that you have sufficient resources for exporting, and that your product or your service is 51% US content or value added in the US. For our HiSTEP program, we do also ask that it be a Hawaii content, 51% of your product or service. The company also cannot be barred from receiving any federal funds. And we also ask that companies be registered with our State Department of Commerce and Consumer Protection, and also be registered and have a general excise tax license with the State Department of Taxation. So those are the basic eligibility requirements for HiSTEP. And I'll just say also, it doesn't matter if you're new to export or if you are an experienced exporter. It runs the gamut. So all companies at all different export levels or different experience levels are eligible. So we'll talk a little bit more about the export readiness program. So we work with HPEC, and in a little while, I'll call on Rob to give us more information about his organization. But we do work with the Hawaii Pacific Export Council to put together a series of webinars that normally we start in November or December, and then we'll go all the way through. We have one monthly through September of next year. These webinars cover various topics that have to do with exporting. We always have an Export University 101, which is sort of the basics of exporting. Other topics are export financing, logistics, IP, intellectual property, and negotiating contracts, for international business, doing an international trade show. Those are some of the topics that we cover as far as export specific topics. We also do sessions on exporting to particular countries. We've done exporting to Japan, to South Korea. We've looked at utilizing the free trade agreement for the Canadian and Mexican markets. We did one in September on the Australia and New Zealand market. So we also cover market specific topics. Also part of the export readiness is what we call our business advising. So if you're a company that's interested in the HiSTEP program, you submit a registration form, and the registration form is just a form that we want to just get information about your company. There's no cost or anything to it. But when we receive the registration form, then we will pair you up or match you up with one of our resource partners. And then you will be contacted by someone from that organization for basically an assessment of where you're at in your sort of your exporting journey, and they can help look at what areas of the HiSTEP might help you. Perhaps the partner organization themselves might offer some services to help you with your business. Maybe you need to build up certain parts of your business before you even might be able to consider exporting. So this is all part of the export readiness. And really what we're trying to do is give companies information so that basically if you don't have an export plan, that you would have the tools to put one together, or you would also have information to be able to revise a plan that you might already have completed for your company. So that's basically our export readiness program. And I want to ask Rob right now to, he can talk a little bit, give some background on HPEC, and he's also going to talk about the U.S. Commercial Service in Hawaii. Rob, thank you.
Sure. Aloha, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. Thank you to Jamie and DBET, and of course SBA for providing us the funding to put on these programs every year. The Hawaii Pacific Export Council usually goes by the acronym HPEC, and we are a Honolulu-based nonprofit 501c3 organization, and all of our board members are appointed and vetted by the U.S. Commerce Secretary, and we serve 2-year terms on the board that can be extended every 2 years. And we are asked to be on the board because of our experience in exporting. And that experience could be legal or logistics or finance or manufacturing or what have you. So of our, at any given time, we have approximately 30 board members. Those board members have a wide array of experience. On the board, I'm responsible for managing the relationship with DBET and our programming that we put on due to the grant that we received from DBET. So we put on roughly 10 seminars or webinars, and this year we're actually moving back to the hybrid where we haven't done that for 2.5 years, where we'll have some in-person meetings at Pier 2 in Honolulu. But all of our meetings anyway before the pandemic were transmitted out to our neighbor island friends by Zoom, and we record them and put them on our YouTube channel in the archive there. So what we do primarily is have these events, these seminars, these webinars, some in-person events, and then we work very closely with the companies one-on-one to mentor them and teach them various aspects of exporting, help them with all kinds of situations that could develop in exporting. And as I said, we have many board members with a wide array of experience that we can fall back on. Our address is here at Pier 2, and I encourage you to look at HawaiiExportSupport.com, and then our YouTube channel archive is here, where we're now rapidly approaching 80 videos of various topics that we've done in the past several years. I'm sure that some of them will be particularly of interest to your company, whether that's, as Jamie alluded to, export finance or logistics or marketing in Japan or Korea, Mexico, Canada, et cetera. It's a wide gamut of topics there for you to peruse, and I hope you use that asset. So next slide, please, is the U.S. Commercial Service, and by statute, John Holman is the sole U.S. Commercial Service employee in Honolulu or in Hawaii, and he, by law, is the executive secretary of the Hawaii Pacific Export Council. And I think he's a very important contact for you to have in your Rolodex, because he's really the window to U.S. commercial service officers around the globe, some 200 offices in U.S. embassies and consulates, and they can help you to vet potential customers, distributors, sales agents, etc. It's a fantastic resource that costs you zero or very little, depending on the service that you get involved in. And those services are certainly reimbursable by the HiSTEP program if you pursue that route. Next slide, please. I like John's slide here because this is how the U.S. Commercial Service looks at companies that approach them. It's export success equals number 1 + 2 + 3 down here. And motivation is really, if a company really wants to succeed in exporting, they will, but it will take time, it'll take patience, it'll take a lot of effort, but that effort will pay off. But you can't go about this lackadaisically. You have to really devote the time and energy and money to working at exporting. Path of least resistance means not getting involved in complicated markets at first, but getting involved where there's free trade agreements between the United States and countries like Mexico and Canada and Singapore and Australia and places like that. And then great partners, of course, means using all the resources of the folks that are on this call right now to help you get going, but then your partners at the U.S. Commercial Service in the countries. And then, of course, in the private sector, when you find great distributors and other stakeholders in your business, that when you add up all of these three together, that's the recipe for success when you're exporting. Next slide, please. And for the U.S. Commercial Service, very similar, they're following U.S. government rules, that SBA has to follow, that in order to be able to help you, you have to be a US registered business. You have to have 51% US content by dollar value or volume. And you have to be export ready, and you have to have products that people are interested in. And I identified your path of least resistance. There's a great little resource of some short videos that are very manageable in 20 minutes or 25 minutes at tinyurl.com, export videos that are put up by the US Commercial Service. And I strongly recommend you look at those because they're interesting. That's it. And please contact us at the HPEC, the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, or John Holman at the US Commercial Service, and we would be thrilled to help you on your exporting venture. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Rob. I do refer a lot of companies to the export.gov, which is the Hawaii Commercial Service, the U.S. Commercial Service. They do have a lot of resources, videos, as well as they do white papers, and they have a lot of information on the different markets and different types of products too. So it's a good resource for companies to learn more about what's going on in the marketplace out there. So back to our the second component of our HiSTEP program is our Hawaii Pavilions, and as I mentioned, DBED as well as the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, we organize a handful of trade shows where we organize Hawaii Pavilions. What we do is we use our HiSTEP funds to support the majority of the costs of these trade shows, and these are large trade shows. And then companies, we recruit companies to be part of the pavilion. We think it's a good way for Hawaii companies to be able to participate in these large trade shows and make it affordable for them. We do charge a small participation fee, but it's about maybe a quarter of what it would cost if a company were to go in on their own to one of these pavilions. So my next slide shows, these are the shows that we're doing for 2023, starting from February all the way through September. These are primarily trade shows. We do have one consumer show that we do with the Hankyu department store in Osaka, Japan, and that's going to be in the summertime. So when we are ready to recruit, we will put out announcements and invite companies to participate and have more specific information about that show when we're ready. I have this from the Department of Agriculture. They're attending another meeting today, and I know they'll be with us tomorrow, but these are the three shows that on the calendar that they are taking the lead on, which is the Gulf Food Show, FoodX Japan, and the International Food Ingredients and Additives Expo. And so we have their contact information there. Like I said, when you get the PowerPoints, they have their own application form, and you can fill that out if you're interested. We have the contact names for Sharon Hurd, Yukashi Smith, and Miss Estrella. I also should point out, they also have two other trade shows that they do. And these other trade shows that they do, the NRA, National Restaurant Association, and Global Produce and Floral Show, they are also international shows, although not officially part of our HiSTEP calendar, but they have international buyers at these shows as well. Which actually brings me to, and hopefully I'll remember to mention it when it comes to talking about specific expenses. Our HiSTEP company assistance is part of HiSTEP, where companies can actually apply for financial assistance to help to support activities that they have in their export plan. We have put out two, we actually split into two categories, our new to export companies and our market expansion companies. The difference is that new to export companies, this might be a company that maybe has never gone to an international trade show before and looking to try that. They can apply for up to $5,000 for their activity that they want to complete. Market expansion companies can apply for up to a maximum of $15,000. Now, another requirement we have for market expansion companies are that they also need to have at least $200,000 in revenues to apply. And this goes back to something that Rob touched upon as far as exporting. It does take time, it takes dedication, takes motivation, but it also does take some of the company's own resources to be able to continue to pursue, exporting and to be successful at it. So for a market expansion company, we would expect that they would have at least the $200,000 revenue level to be able to qualify. This is, although it's, I will say, a grant, quote unquote, because it's money that does not have to be paid back. But we don't actually give it out as a grant per se, as far as procurement, because just because of our own procurement status. What we do is we issue a request for proposal. Same thing though, we just say it's an application, but technically through the state procurement system, it's a request for proposal, which we will have ready early November, and then we'll give 2 months for companies to respond and submit their application or proposal. So it'll be due in early January. Again, I will say that you should go back to our website, invest.hawaii.gov, and that's where it'll be posted. But we will send out an announcement. We will be sending out an announcement when the proposals are ready. And then the last thing I'll point out on that is that the funds that are awarded are paid as a reimbursement. So the companies don't expect that you get money up front. It is based on reporting and submission of documents. And the type of expenses that are allowed to be covered, I have a listing here. E-commerce and website expenses, so translating your website and localizing your website for particular markets, setting up a payment to accept international payments, that's all allowable. Doing digital marketing, using some of the social media platforms to reach your target audience. And then it can be used to pay for airfare, to go to a trade show, or if you have buyers meetings, you can cover airfare. It can be used for trade shows. And I want to point out, because this question has been raised, it does not have to be a trade show that we're organizing as, with a Hawaii Pavilion. It can be another trade show that you feel is appropriate for your company and your product or service. As long as it's an international show, and even if it's in the US, we will take a look at it. But if it's in the US, as long as it has international buyers that attend, it will qualify. It can be used for shipping your products to and from. It can be used for shipping sample products if you have a buyer that's interested in trying, only wants a sample shipment. Gold Key service, Rob mentioned this with the U.S. Commercial Service. They have an array of services, some of which are free and some which have some fees for it. And so STEP funds can be used for that. It can be used to compliance testing if you have a product that needs to be certified to be able to be sold in a certain market. It can be used for research tools, subscriptions, tax credit insurance, premiums, those that might be familiar with the EXIM Bank, Export-Import Bank. it can help you with that. Foreign buyer credit reports, and something that was also added, consultancy services. Now, this would be for more specialized consultant services that would go beyond services that the U.S. Commercial Service offers. So that is a caveat in that it has to be for a service that U.S. Department of Service Commercial Service does not cover.
Mhm.
So those, in a nutshell, that is the components of our HiSTEP program. What are the success metrics that we're looking at? We want to see expanded volume of exports and expanded value, dollar amount of exports that are being sold in the global market. We want to increase the number of Hawaii companies that are out there selling their products and services internationally. And then we want to penetrate new markets for all of our Hawaii produced goods and services. So we've seen a lot of success, and for companies that are willing to go this route, we do encourage you to look at the HiSTEP program. Again, invest.hawaii.gov. If you go under the exporting tab, you'll find all of the information that I've covered here with the HiSTEP program. And we are currently updating our website to for the 2023. So there may be portions that say, that something is not available right now. The topics for all of the webinars, some of the forms are still being updated. So, but certainly by next week, when come November, we'll be ready to roll. So now I'd like to go back to the slide that Mark Ritchie talked about with all the different types of business services that all of our partner organizations offer. So we want to look at business training programs and one-on-one advising. So I'd like to start by introducing the Small Business Development Center. And I'd like to ask Wayne Wong, he's the Maui Center Director, to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about the SBDC.
Thanks, Jamie. So again, just to put everything in context, the Hawaii Small Business Development Center is one of the resource partners that can help you with one-on-one advising. So we call it technical advising. So a lot of it has to do with, you find out in the program what you have to do, and many times you need to find out how do you do that, and that's sort of the piece that we fit in. So we provide one-on-one advising. It's confidential because we are funded through both the SBA and the state of Hawaii. That means that the advising is no cost to you. And then we also provide other training. And so think of us as basically your technical assistance partner. And we are the ones that can help you actually get things done. So one of the examples I think that Mark originally talked about was, you may find out that as you get into your export plan and things like that, you have to determine how are you going to scale up production, right? So that's not a sort of an export specific thing that gets covered in the program. So that's where we can fill in that gap of knowledge. We can come in and tell you how to do it, maybe even look at financing options if that's part of what's needed to be done. So I'm the Maui Center's director. We have a center on every major island, and I run the center that's on Maui, and our phone number is 875-5990. But you can just go also to our website, hawaiisbdc.org. And we'd love to hear from you. In fact, you probably will hear from us if you apply, because what happens is that as the applications come in, we are notified to, hey, this organization applied. You might want to reach out and talk to you. So if you put in an application. Don't be surprised if we give you a call and ask if there's any way we can provide you with assistance.
Thank you, Wayne. So as just to sort of follow up, as Wayne said, so as I mentioned, when you submit a HiSTEP registration form, we will partner you up with one of these resource organizations. And so companies that apply from Maui, we will usually send them Wayne's way. So you will hear from him if you are a Maui company. Our next partner that I'd like to introduce is the Patsy T. Mink Center for Business and Leadership. And we have Colleen here, who is the Center Director. Colleen.
Great, thank you, Jamie. Aloha, everyone. I'm Colleen McAlooney from the Patsy T. Mink Center for Business and Leadership, the only women's business center in the state of Hawaii out of 146 across the country. So our piece in the, or actually I'll go to this slide. These are just some stats about our center since we opened in 2013. We're about to celebrate our 10th anniversary next year. And so really happy to bring support to the small business community. You can go to the next slide, Jamie. Thank you. So these are some of the programs and workshops that we offer here at the center: free business and legal counseling, our Launch My E-commerce workshops, our Horizon Strategies for Growth, a number of individual workshops and roundtables. We have our We Are Rising Tide cohort for women business owners looking to increase growth. And then we have our Shop Small Hawaii initiative to support all Hawaii small businesses. So even though we are a women's business center, we do help men too. So men and women business owners. And we are happy to have the opportunity to support early exporting businesses that may need some support and help in just being able to strengthen maybe their internal structure and best practices, operating best practices to support future exporting growth. And this is our, yeah, thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Colleen. Next, I want to ask Andra from the Veterans Business Outreach Center to introduce herself and VBOC.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm excited again to be here as a resource partner and to support the HiSTEP program. My name is Andra and I'm a business advisor at VBOC, which is the Veterans Business Outreach Center of the Pacific. VBOC is a program under the University of Hawaii at Hilo, also funded in part by a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Our VBOC services all of Hawaii, Guam, and American Samoa, and there are 22 VBOCs across the U.S. servicing all of the states. The Business Outreach Center also provides entrepreneurial development services to our active military, transitioning service members, veterans, National Guard, and reserve members, as well as military spouses interested in starting or growing a small business. We have a 2-day program that we call Boots to Business that we offer on the installations, as well as a 1-day reboot workshop. And additionally, just like the other resource partners, we provide other training as well as the free one-on-one counseling and resource partner referrals. And we actually have in our office 2 U.S. certified export counselors, both Lori and Dennis, that you can tap into so that they can help you with getting export ready and assisting with strategic planning. And we thank you for this opportunity to share. Thank you, Jamie.
Great. Thank you so much, Andra. So we want to give a little bit time and information about the financing piece, financing and small business loans. So I'd like to ask Mark Spain to come on again. Are you there, Mark? And give us some information about the SBA loan programs.
Gladly do that. Jamie, do you see my video?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We have basically 6 programs. And I see that on my screen, it's telling me my internet connection is unstable, so I hopefully will not be challenged as Mary was earlier. Okay. But with the Express loan, which is obviously designed for developing sales and growing a business, particularly a startup. But the most important one for the export topic, of course, is the Export Express, what we call the EWCP. It's short-term working capital to generate export sales. And we also work with other collaborators in the area of financing. The SBIR, of course, can also be helpful, part of our outreach to bring resources to those who want to export successfully. So we do have more information at sba.gov where you can provide much greater detail. Most importantly, all of the loan programs that we offer are loan programs that are done by our local lender community, but also there are mainland, increasingly so, mainland firms who are anxious to be a part of the Hawaii economy in terms of providing financing. Again, SBA.gov can provide some location. We have a program with specific interests called Lender Match. So we do offer things that will be helpful that obviously are not totally on this slide. If you have any questions as you're listening to my comments today, we have Mary Dale, Mary.Dale at sba.gov. She is our lending expert, along with myself and also Valerie Kubota, Valerie.Kubota, Kubota, at sba.gov. We can offer information more explicitly along with our resource partners as well. But these are the primary 6 programs. I'll just hop and give them identity. Express loans, obviously develop loans and grow. 7A, that's long-term working capital. 504 is really designed to be a fixed rate financing for major assets, including the purchase of property and buildings. Our cap line is a short-term and cyclical working capital resource. Of course, we mentioned the export sales focus EWCP, and we also have a community advantage, which is a loan guarantee program for mission-focused lenders who want to be involved. Jamie, that's our summary.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. So for more information, yes, go to the SBA website. Now I'd like to bring back my colleague, Mark Ritchie, because he's going to talk about our community-based economic development loan program.
Yeah, one of the programs that DBET has that supports HiSTEP is our community-based economic development program, where we offer grants, technical assistance, and most importantly, our CBED loan program, which is designed for businesses that are primarily in manufacturing, wholesaling, and value-added agricultural production. This program, we like to see an economic development outcome, because this is an economic development program, even though it's a loan program. So it should result, the loan should result in new jobs, services, or increase in business for local suppliers and things, and a local community. Next slide, please. So the CBED loan program, usually our loans range from $50,000 to $125,000. Statutorily, we could actually go up to $250,000, but I think if you're looking at those types of money, you want to go talk to Mark Spain, because they can do much, much higher amounts. Our interest rates set by statute are 3 to 6%, and we can do as long as a 10-year term. We have co-lending arrangements with a number of other organizations, including Feed the Hunger Fund, Hawaii Community Reinvestment Corporation, Waianae Economic Development Council, and then the State Department of Agriculture. So what could the loans be used for? For working capital, construction or improvement of facilities, purchase of equipment, and then payment of production and marketing expenses. Most of our borrowers are using the money for working capital and then purchase of equipment. we do not compete against the banks. So if you can get a bank loan, then you need to get a bank loan. But if you do have a commercial turn down from a bank, then we can talk to you and consider lending to you. And more information is there at our website. Next slide, please. So next on the list of sort of wraparound services to support the HiSTEP program is scaling up your operations. As we said earlier, if you're going to have a successful export program, you are probably going to need to expand production. And that might mean all sorts of things about getting efficiencies, moving facilities, buying new capital equipment. And the organization, next slide, that can help you with that is Innovate Hawaii, which is part of the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, HTDC. And particularly, one of the programs of Innovate Hawaii, it's funded by the state of Hawaii, is the Manufacturing Assistance Program. And what that program will do is, if you need to purchase new capital equipment used in manufacturing, the state could actually, with the grant, pay up to 20% of that, up to a maximum of $100,000. So let's say you need to buy $500,000 worth of manufacturing equipment. Maybe you want to upgrade your facility, expand your facility. You could actually apply and get a grant up to $100,000 out of that $500,000 to pay for that. So it's a great program, and it's designed to try to keep Hawaii manufacturers competitive locally, but then also to be able to take out, to be able to export to other places and increase their production. Next slide, please. And it's a reimbursement program. And so for the current round of funding, which I'll talk about in 1 second, the equipment needs to be purchased on or after July 1st, 2020. So anybody that's purchased manufacturing equipment after that time, you could be eligible to apply for this program. Next slide. And the application deadline is December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. So, and the applications are already online, and they're at that URL, the htdc.org URL. So definitely take a look at that, because we think most of the people who are part of HiSTEP are manufacturers, and this program could be for you. Next slide. Other services of Innovate Hawaii, just want to mention them very quickly. Not only can they help you scaling up, they will help you with production efficiency as you sort of grow, try to get economies of scale. They're very big, and they have all these programs on food safety and quality, where there's new government regulations on food safety. You need to know how your firm can, if you're in sort of a value-added food sector, make sure that you're conforming to government regulations and things on food safety. They also do some stuff in workforce development, quality management systems, and cybersecurity. We know that's all a big issue now. As you grow, we want your company to be safe, have its systems safe, and things that be free from hacking and things. Next slide. And the last component of this is just programs that can help you save on taxes and duties as you expand your business. And the first one of these is the Enterprise Zone Partnership Program, that basically, in exchange for job creation in economically challenged areas of the state, you can get tax credits, you can get your unemployment premiums that you're paying for your workers reimbursed, and also there's a GET waiver on that. This is mostly for companies kind of in the manufacturing, wholesaling, agricultural production area. Retail is not eligible for this. The benefits can last up to 7 years. And if you're a manufacturer or in the ag sector, you can get a 3-year extension, so you can be in the program for a full 7 years. And the time to join the program is when you're starting to expand and hire new people, because in exchange for creating a job, you're getting tax benefits. Next slide. And this is just some of the incentives that you get, which I've mentioned. And for more information on this program, you can go to the website there. It's all online, the application, And if you join and your enrollment is approved, basically you'll report to us every year, and DBED certifies that you've met the requirements of the program so that when you do your taxes, you can take the tax credits and the GET waiver. Next slide. This is where the maps are of the enterprise zones in the state. Each county actually nominates the zones and they last for 20 years. These are all sort of considered by census data as kind of economically challenged areas where they're trying to create jobs. Next slide. And lastly, a program that can help you save on duties. If you're a manufacturer, but you're importing a lot of your input from abroad and there's duties on that, you should really talk to a professional at the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone. Because if you're taking a product with a certain duty and then combining it with other products that maybe are locally made, then that product could actually come in as a finished product and be classified at maybe a lower tariff rate. Or if you re-export that product, you will owe no duties whatsoever. So if you're in that situation where you are paying duties, it would be good to talk to a foreign trade representative about how you might be able to save on those duties, depending on what your business plan is and where you are selling your product. The main foreign trade zone is here on Oahu, but there are other foreign trade zones. Hilo has part of a foreign trade zone, and they can actually be specially created for where you are, where your company is. The foreign trade zone also has extensive warehousing facilities to store product when it comes in. And that is something to look at as well if you are importing a lot of inputs into your products. And with that, I'll send it back to Jamie. It looks like we have about 4 minutes left.
Thank you, Mark. So I know we covered a lot of information. As I mentioned, we will send out a copy of the PowerPoint to everyone that is registered. We want to thank all of our resource partners for being here on the call. Thank the SBA again for continuing to support the HiSTEP program in Hawaii. And I don't see any questions, I don't think. The Q&A. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or I think unmute yourself and ask a question. Here's contact information for myself and Mark Ritchie and one of our other colleagues, Lyle. Again, as far as HiSTEP and any of the other DBED programs that Mark talked about, our website is invest.hawaii.gov. We will have, again, send this out to you so you will have everyone's URLs and contact information. And please feel free to contact us about HiSTEP and our resource partners as you need their services. If you are interested in HiSTEP, we ask that you go to our website and fill out a form. There's no cost to do that. It doesn't even obligate you to. It doesn't obligate you to participate in any of our activities, but it will set in motion. You will be contacted by one of our resource partners, whoever you get matched up with, to begin the process of looking at your company and seeing how we can help you be successful in exporting. So if there are no other, doesn't look like there are any questions. Just thank you again all.
Yeah.
Mark, did you have a final comment?
Oh, just thank you to all of our resource partners for doing this Maui-based webinar. And hopefully, if anybody has any questions, they can contact us. But we look forward to a successful HiSTEP cycle for 2023.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.